What's going on, guys? Welcome back to BlackTideTV, bringing you the best of all things gaming Monday to Friday, except for yesterday we missed a video, so we're going to be doing two today to make it up to you. Today, in the first video you're seeing right now, this is the Gorgon Golden Weapon review. It's the last weapon in Tier 3 of Golden Weapon reviews, so we're moving on to the next tier. We've already done a vote on it, the next Golden Weapon review, which should either come out later today or maybe next week sometime, is going to be on the SVG 100 Sniper Rifle. I will put up a poll at the end of that video for the next weapon in Tier 4, but for now, let's jump right into this Golden Weapon review. I was going to say the golden. This is not the golden, this is the Gorgon. The Gorgon is an extremely special weapon. So this is a very, very niche weapon. It's not a weapon that we've ever kind of seen before. It's definitely very, very special. And we've actually already talked about it before in my very popular Problematic Camos Gorgon Headshots episode, how to get your Gorgon Headshots easier, which I will put a card in the top right corner, link in the description. We've already talked about how weird this gun is, but we will recap because obviously this is the official Golden Weapon review. So it is simultaneously one of the best and worst guns in Call of Duty Black Ops 3 by far. This is a very special weapon. It's just... what I'd call it is a hybrid LMG sniper rifle. Obviously, it's more on the side of the LMG, but it has a lot of qualities from sniper rifles in this game that the LMGs don't really have. It's a very special weapon, so let's just get right into the stats and stuff, and I'll tell you about how to use it in a little bit. So, the sniper aspects that shine through are the unstoppable damage and range profiles of this weapon. It's a two-shot kill almost any time, like across the entire map, unless you're using a suppressor or if you're shooting through something. Now, even when you're shooting through something, you're still going to be getting kills very, very fast, but we're going to talk about that in a little bit. The Gorgon also has a very high stability and accuracy, as well as a slow fire rate. So those are two more attributes that are very similar to sniper rifles. Unfortunately, the LMG elements that bring this weapon down are the slow reload speed, a large but not really large enough magazine size, which is 40 regular. In this gameplay, you're seeing extended mags, which is 56. It's got sloppy handling. It's really slow to move, to sprint, to aim in and out. And it's definitely a weapon for a stationary player. It's definitely a weapon for somebody that wants to just kind of stay in one area and camp it out. So how are you going to use this weapon? Well, you're obviously going to camp your ass off with it. You're going to stack up at a high point in an overwatch position over an objective, maybe somewhere in like a building somewhere where there's only one or two entrances. You're going to want to use like really campy equipment like tactical, or oh my god, what am I trying to say here? Shock charges and trip mines is what you probably want to use with this weapon if you're going to build a class with it. But your real skills here are how you're actually going to use this weapon. It doesn't really matter how you build the class. Yes, we're going to talk about class builds in a bit, but it's really dependent on how you use the weapon. You really got to camp your ass off, stack up at a high point or in an overwatch position, or you can just kind of camp in a corner in the back of the map and engage enemies at really long ranges. You're just going to want to find a spot, aim down your sights, and just wait. That's all it takes with this weapon. You're going to want to be slow and steady. This is where the slow and steady wins the race. This is the turtle that won. This weapon, you really got to take your time, acquire your targets. You got to reload only when it's extremely necessary because it's got a very slow reload speed, or if you have the time. Like, make sure you have a lot of time. Make sure you're in a safe, secure position before you reload. And you're going to want to take advantage of enemies at really, really long ranges. So you're not going to want to run up and shoot people at very close range. I'm doing it a little bit in this gameplay, but that's just because I wanted to get a more aggressive gameplay for you guys, but this is not an aggressive weapon. If you're thinking about running in and being in the close quarters gunfights, use an SMG, use another LMG, use an assault rifle. This is not the weapon for close range gunfights. Even if you have the extreme accuracy that you need to get two shots on your enemies easily, like right away, before they put their shots on you, this weapon fires so slow and stuff, it's going to be really rough trying to get those two shots on your enemy. So you want to engage enemies at longer ranges, and I think you'll do very, very good with this thing if you're doing that. So make sure you're at those long ranges. Make sure you're aimed down sights and prepared for enemies to show up. Now, since we're talking about playing to this weapon's strengths at long ranges, at being ready for enemies, you should probably know that this the Gorgon has the highest bullet penetration of any LMG in the game. It's one of the highest bullet penetration weapons in the entire game, just under the sniper rifles. So using FMJ on this thing, stacking FMJ on top of the already good bullet penetration, will actually make this thing a beast at shooting through walls, punching through walls, and getting those FMJ kills, which I will link a video for how to get FMJ kills a little bit easier in the card in the top right corner as well. So you can actually use this instead of a sniper rifle for that situation and try and get your FMJ kills. You can use this weapon with FMJ to really destroy safeguard robots. FMJ used to be able to shoot through uplink armor, but I don't think it does anymore. But it will do a lot of damage to the safeguard robot. It will take down score streaks very easily. You can actually shoot down UAVs and stuff with this weapon if you're using FMJ, like super easily, like 10 bullets, and you can shoot down a UAV. It's an extremely powerful weapon when it comes to using FMJ, shooting through walls and shooting at score streaks. So make sure you're doing that. That's a really great idea, but you don't necessarily need to run FMJ. It's not a weapon that, or it's not an attachment that is absolutely necessary. But it is a really cool option if you plan on playing a little bit more strategically with this weapon. Now, 2 more tips before we get into class and attachment recommendations. The first is that at long ranges, you can actually fire the Gorgon as a semi-automatic sniper or assault rifle instead of an LMG. Instead of holding down the trigger and spraying a whole bunch of bullets out, that's going to like knock your aim off just a little bit. It's got very good recoil, it's very accurate, but when you're holding down the fire and it's kind of bopping up and down, you're going to have a rough time acquiring your targets, and I wasn't really doing it too much in this gameplay, but instead of holding down the trigger at long range, just tap the trigger. Tap it really slowly. And because the fire rate's so slow on this weapon, you will be able to get out 1 bullet at a time, and you can be really accurate, you can be really precise, and actually use this weapon as like a sniper rifle at long ranges. Even in hardcore, this is a one-shot kill at pretty much any situation. So in hardcore, you can use this thing as a sniper rifle with 40 bullets in the magazine. It's absolutely insane. It's a very powerful at long ranges if you know how to use it. So make sure you're tapping and not holding the trigger when you're engaging enemies at long range. Second thing that I want to get to before we get into attachment and class recommendations is don't be afraid to pre-fire those corners. It's a very poor weapon to use in close quarters combat. So use the environment to your advantage. Like if you know there's an enemy out there, just start firing before you get around the corner. It's no big deal. I think I actually just did it right now. So it's definitely something you should do. Like always be playing to your advantage. Don't go easy on enemies in this game because everybody's a tryhard in Call of Duty now. Just go as hard as you possibly can, especially when you're using a wacky gun like this. Pre-fire your corners, do whatever you have to do, drop shot in close range engagements. Like, do what you need to do to make this gun great, and you'll have a good time with it. Don't try and play fair and just kind of stand there and make yourself wide open while you're trying to fire this super slow weapon at them. Like, make it hard for them to kill you. Now, as far as class building goes, you could use defensive perks, fast hands to make this big ass gun raise and drop faster. You could use a campy equipment like trip mines, shock charges, or you could take the road less traveled as I have in this video with the Gorgon and full attachments. So that's what I've done with this weapon. It's stacked 5 attachments and an optic just because I don't like the default optic for long range gunfights. I've stacked all of that onto this gun in this gameplay, and I think it works awesome. My first round in this gameplay was like 25-2 or something. I started to die a lot more towards the end, like the second round of the gameplay, but it was a very powerful. I wasn't expecting this. I was just goofing around when I think I was actually going for my last camouflage on this, where I needed to get the camo where it was to actually have all 6 attachments on, and I found that it was going really well. So that's how I stayed. The Gorgon Medusa, bonus points to anybody that can guess why it's called that. Guess the origins of that name in the comment section down below. The Gorgon Medusa that you're seeing in this gameplay is using 6 full attachments just because I found that it works very well. I think that you don't really need perks with a weapon that you're going to be camping so much with. Like, yeah, you can use defensive perks, flak jacket, or things that keep you off the radar, which can help, but really if you don't need perks, what do you need to run them for? You can use use all these attachments. This weapon isn't very good at a lot of things, so you can buff a lot of the things that it's really bad at and make it make it really good at long ranges and mediocre at everything else. So that's what I've done. The Gorgon Medusa in this gameplay has rapid fire, extended mags, quick draw, grip, FMJ, and an elo sight. So I'm using the elo sight. Like I said, I don't like the iron sights for long range engagements because they're kind of boxed off. They're closed at the top, which can obstruct your view a little bit. But the other attachments that I would say that are actually essential would be rapid fire, quick draw, and some kind of magazine. You're going to want to use fast mags or extended mags. I went for extended mags in this. Honestly, I would equip both if I had the space, but I wanted to use the FMJ just to show you guys how I like to use the weapon. Like, the FMJ is really awesome for punching through walls and stuff. So I'm using the FMJ. I'm using the grip as well, just because I'm anal about keeping my weapons super accurate. So that's why I'm using the grip. Quick draw is really amazing because this thing aims down sights so slow. Like I said, the movement and everything on this is so sloppy. Whereas if you have a quick draw grip, you're aiming in just a little bit faster, and it will help you in closer range gunfights if you ever do get into those. So quick draw, rapid fire, and some kind of magazine. You need rapid fire because this thing just fires so slow, and if you really want to up your game with this weapon, rapid fire, you definitely got to do it. So don't prestige this weapon if you don't have to, because rapid fire is where it's at, and it's the last attachment for this weapon, I believe. So rapid fire, awesome. Quick draw, awesome, and some kind of a magazine. But what I really suggest is you stack all 6 attachments on here. Now, my final attachment tips of the day is I do not recommend the suppressor unless you're going for headshots, in which case you should definitely check out my Gorgon headshots video in the card in the top right corner or the link in the description, because it's going to make it a little bit harder to get kills, but it will make it a little bit easier to get headshots. So don't use the suppressor unless you're going for headshots. Make sure you check out that video. As for specialists with this LMG, anything close range, Heatwave, Spectre, Spectre's Ripper, they'll help you in close quarters because, well, you're not going to be very good in close quarters with a really slow firing long range LMG. And that's it for the first of today's videos. We're going to be doing another video a little bit later, so make sure you subscribe so you're getting that one. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Comment down below how you like to run the Gorgon, and if you know why I call it the Gorgon Medusa, definitely let me know in the comment section down below. Like I said, bonus points to anybody that can get that. It's pretty obvious, I mean, if you're into that kind of stuff. But that's it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. See you in a little bit.